Hello and welcome to the Element 3 Health Sewing Club. My name is Andrea and I am your club leader. Today I am here to teach you how to sew this cute cube, which makes a darling organizer for any small collection that you may have. For this project, you are going to need 10 5-inch by 5-inch cotton squares of fabric, and then 5 5-inch by 5-inch squares of batting, and 2 1-inch by 5-inch strips of a non-fraying fabric. You could use leather, suede, vinyl, felt, or even perhaps cork would be a wonderful choice for these little handles, which go right on the side there and allow you to move the cube around. Okay, so 5 of the squares will be used for the exterior and 5 will be used for the interior. So you're going to want to line your exterior squares with the quilt batting. The interior squares do not need any quilt batting. You're welcome to use another interfacing of your choice if you like. We're going to begin by constructing the exterior of this project. Then you're going to take your fabric square and you're going to position one of your handles on top of that at center, approximately 2 inches from the top and the bottom. So I'm going to hold mine in place and just stitch that down on the left and the right hand side. And then I want to repeat that process, and I'm just going to position that again 2 inches up from the top and 2 inches up from the bottom, and tack that handle in place. And then I am going to position this panel with the handle on top of one of the squares with the quilt batting, and I'm going to stitch down that right hand side where the handle meets the side using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Then open that up, and on the opposite side I'm going to lay that second panel with the handle right on top of that and stitch down that right hand side where the handle meets the edge. Okay, so at this point you should have a tri-folding panel with 2 handles and 1 center. Then you're going to use the last 2 remaining panels, position those right sides facing, and stitch down that right hand side to create a dual panel, which you will then position on top of that center panel, which does not have the handles. And I'll drop that quickly so you can see. So you're just going to align one of the sides of the double panel with that center panel that does not have any handles, and you're going to stitch seam to seam. So not edge to edge, but rather seam to seam. And then when you open that up, you should have something that looks like this. And now when you join this side with this bottom right hand side, you can see your cube starting to take shape. And I'm just going to pin those sides together so you can see how that looks. And so this is what you should have now. And so you want to go ahead and attach those sides using the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, back stitch of course at the top and the bottom, and then we'll come in and sew those base seams. And so then, as mentioned, we're going to come in and pull those base seams nice and taut and stitch seam to join the base of the side with the side of the base. And now you can really see your project starting to take shape. Before we turn this right side out, we just want to trim back the batting and the fabric from those top edges. And I'm leaving approximately 1/4 inch of seam allowance along that top edge. And now you can turn your project right side out. Go ahead and poke out those corners and trim up any stray threads. And then you're going to take that top edge and fold it over 1/2 inch and pin that lip in place. And then the exterior of the cube is complete. We're going to use the same construction process to craft the interior. The key difference is we are not using the batting or the interfacing on the interior, and there are no handles on the interior. So I'm just going to set this sweet exterior aside for a few moments. And now the interior is crafted from 5 inch by 5 inch cotton squares of fabric. We're going to begin by crafting that tri-folding panel. First step is to align 2 of the squares right side spacing and stitch down one side. You open that up, and the second step is to lay that third panel on top of that center panel and stitch down the right hand side. Then you have your tri-folding panel, which you can set aside. Your remaining 2 panels will be positioned right side spacing, and you will stitch down the right hand side. Then you open that up, and you will take that double panel and position it so that the base of that panel aligns with the top of your tri-fold panel, and you're going to stitch seam to seam. And then when you open that up, this is what it looks like. And the next step is to align that side with the opposite side. Go ahead and pin everything in place to make sure that you're attaching the right sides. And then once you're certain you have something that resembles a cube, go ahead and stitch down both sides. And now your interior is really taking shape. The last step there is to align the base of the side with the side of the base and stitch that closed on both sides. And now the interior is complete. Because we did not use the batting on the interior, there's no need to trim up those top seams. So now you just need to take that top edge and fold it over 1/2 inch. Most of the time the cotton fabric presses very nicely just with your thumb and forefinger. If you like, you can iron that. Same thing, you're just folding it over about 1/2 inch, whereas the exterior you folded inward about 1/2 inch, and then you're going to fit that lining right inside of that exterior. I like to begin by aligning 2 of the side seams first, and then I flip over to the opposite side and align those 2 seams, and then I can go to work aligning the remaining seams. And then once you're happy with how that fits inside of there, you're going to remove your machine deck and then slip this little cube right on top of the deck. I like to start approximately 1/2 inch in front of one of those side seams. And then I'm just going to move slowly all the way around the perimeter of the cube. And then after you trim up those stray threads, you should have a cute cube that is ready for you to fill that up with your small treasures. Finish this project measures approximately 4 inches across the base and 4 inches tall. And I want to give you a couple styling options for this. If you like, you can fold that top edge down and create an accent panel there all the way around the lip with that. You also have the option of reversing this if you like, and then those handles can become functional on the inside and divide your contents. For example, if you were putting Post-it notes or pens inside of there, that would keep the contents separated there. So I hope you enjoyed this project. It was an absolute pleasure to sew with you, and I thank you for spending this time with me. Everyone is invited to vote in the community poll, which will be available on Wednesday, as to how we can modify this design. A few examples for you would be to incorporate a flap closure that would then be secured under one of the handles. Perhaps we would add a basket type handle to the top of that. We could increase the size. There are many possibilities. We could perhaps add some pockets to the exterior or pockets to the interior if we were to increase the size of this. We could even maybe integrate an interior divider inside of this. So check back on the Sewing Club homepage Wednesday for a community poll in which you can vote on the variation, and then the most popular variation will win, and you are invited to join us on Thursday afternoon for our live sew together, in which I will show you how to craft the project with the variation. And then we'll come together again as a creative community on Friday for our weekly Sew and Tell, when you will have the opportunity to share your completed projects with the group. So until then, be well and so happy, my sweet friends.